Yamīn-ud-Dawla, Abul-Qāṣim, Mahmūd ibn Sebüktegīn, more commonly known as Mahmud of Ghazni, also known as Mahmūd-i Zābulī, was the most prominent ruler of the Ghaznavid Empire. He conquered the eastern Iranian lands and the northwestern Indian subcontinent from 997 to his death in 1030. Mahmūd turned the former provincial city of Ghazna into the wealthy capital of an extensive empire which covered most of today's Afghanistan, eastern Iran, and Pakistan, by looting the riches and wealth from the then Indian subcontinent. He was the first ruler to carry the title Sultan, signifying the extent of his power, though preserving the ideological link to the suzerainty of the Abbasid Caliphate. During his rule, he invaded and plundered parts of Hindustan 17 times. Early life and origin. Mahmūd was born on Thursday, 10 Muharram, 361 November 2, 971 CE in the town of Ghazna in medieval Khorasan. His father Sebüktegīn was a Turkish Mamluk who founded the Ghaznavid dynasty. His mother was the daughter of a Persian aristocrat from Zabulistan family. Sultan Mahmūd was born on the 2nd of November 971 CE in Ghazni to first Ghaznavid Sultan Sebüktegīn, Yusuf Sebüktegīn being his younger brother. He was married to a woman named Kausari Jahan and had twin sons Maḥmūd and Maḥmūd, who succeeded him one after the other, while his grandson by Mahmūd Ghaznavi was also ruler of the empire. His sister Sitri was married to Dawood bin Ata'ullahlavi, also known as Ghazi Salassahu, whose son was Ghazi Sayyid Salamasud. Mahmūd's companion was a Georgian slave Malik Ayaz, and his love for him inspired poems and stories. Early career. In 994, Mahmūd joined his father Sebüktegīn in the capture of Khorasan from the rebel Faiq in aid of the Samanid Emir Nuh-II. During this period, the Samanid Empire became highly unstable, with shifting internal political tides as various factions vied for control, the chief among them being Abul-Qāṣim Simjuri, Faiq Abu Ali, the general Bektuzan, as well as the neighboring Buyid dynasty and Karakanid Khanate reign. Mahmūd took over his father's kingdom in 998 after defeating and capturing Ismail at the Battle of Ghazni. He then set out west from Ghazni to take the Kandahar region, followed by Bost, where he turned it into a militarized city. Mahmūd initiated the first of numerous invasions of North India. On November 28, 1001, his army fought and defeated the army of Raja Jayapala of the Kabul Shahis at the Battle of Peshawar. In 1002, Mahmūd invaded Sistan and dethroned Caliph Ibn Ahmad, ending the Safarid dynasty. Further, he decided to focus on Hindustan to the southeast, particularly the highly fertile lands of the Punjab region. Mahmūd's first campaign to the south was against an Ismaili state first established at Multan in 965 by a decree from the Fatimid Caliphate in a bid to carry political favor and recognition with the Abbasid Caliphate. He also engaged with the Fatimids elsewhere. At this point, Jayapala attempted to gain revenge for an earlier military defeat at the hands of Mahmūd's father, who had controlled Ghazni in the late 980s and had cost Jayapala extensive territory. His son Anandapala succeeded him and continued the struggle to avenge his father's suicide. He assembled a powerful confederacy which faced defeat as his elephant turned back from the battle in a crucial moment, turning the tide into Mahmūd's favor once more at Lahore in 1008, bringing Mahmūd into control of the Shahi dominions of Udbampura. Ghaznavid campaigns in Indian subcontinent. Following the defeat of the Indian Confederacy, after deciding to retaliate for the combined resistance, Mahmūd then set out on regular expeditions against them, leaving the conquered kingdoms in the hands of Hindu vassals and annexing only the Punjab region. He also vowed to raid and loot the wealthy region of northwestern India every year. In 1001, Mahmud of Ghazni had first invaded modern Afghanistan and Pakistan. Mahmud defeated, captured and later released the Shahi ruler Jayapala, who had moved his capital to Peshawar. Jayapala killed himself and was succeeded by his son Anandapala. In 1005, Mahmud of Ghazni invaded Bhatia, and in 1006 he invaded Multan, at which time Anandapala's army attacked him. The following year Mahmud of Ghazni attacked and crushed Sukipala, ruler of Bathinda. In 1013, during Mahmud's 8th expedition into eastern Afghanistan and Pakistan, the Shahi kingdom was overthrown. In 1014 Mahmud led an expedition to Thainzar. The next year he unsuccessfully attacked Kashmir. In 1018, he attacked Mathura and defeated a coalition of rulers, while also killing a ruler called Chandrapala. In 1021 Mahmud supported the Kanayu king against Chandelaganda, who was defeated. The same year Shahi Trilochanapala was killed at Rahib and his son Bhimapala succeeded him. Lahore was annexed by Mahmud. Mahmud besieged Gwalior in 1023, where he given tribute. Mahmud attacked Somnath in 1025, and its ruler Bhima-Deva I fled. The next year, he captured Somnath and marched to Kutch against Bhima-Deva. The same year Mahmud also attacked the Jat people of Jud. The Indian kingdoms of Nagakit, Thainzar, Kanayu, and Gwalior were all conquered and left in the hands of Hindu, Jain and Buddhist kings as vassal states, and he was pragmatic enough not to shirk making alliances and enlisting local peoples into his armies at all ranks. Destroying the temples and monuments would destroy the willpower of the Hindus attacking the empire, since Mahmud never kept a permanent presence in the northwestern subcontinent. Nagakit, Thainzar, Mathura, Kanayu, Kalinjar and Somnath all submitted or were raided. Political challenges. The last 4 years of Mahmud's life were spent contending with the influx of Oghuz and Seljuk Turks from Central Asia and the Buyid dynasty. Initially the Seljuks were repulsed by Mahmud and retired to Khwarezm, but Togrul and Kagri led them to capture Merv and Nishapur. Later they repeatedly raided and traded territory with his successors across Khorasan and Balkh, and even sacked Ghazni in 1037. In 1040 at the Battle of Dandanakan, they decisively defeated Mahmud's son, Masud-I, resulting in Masud abandoning most of his western territories to the Seljuks. Sultan Mahmud died on the 30th of April 1030. His mausoleum is located in Ghazni, Afghanistan. Campaign timeline. As Emir 994, gained the title of Saif-ad-Dawla and became governor of Khorasan under service to Nuh-II of the Samanid Empire in civil strife. 995, the Samanid rebels Faiq and Abu Ali expel Mahmud from Nishapur. Mahmud and Sebüktegīn defeat Samanid rebels at Tus. As Sultan 997, Kara Khanate 999, Khorasan, Balkh, Herat, Merv from the Samanids, a concurrent invasion from the north by the Kara Khanates under Ali Khan's Samanid rule. 1000, Sistan from Safarid dynasty. 1001, Gandhara. Sultan Mahmud defeats Raja Jayapala at Peshawar. Jayapala subsequently abdicates and commits suicide. 1002, Sistan imprisoned Kolar. 1004, Bhatia annexed after it fails to pay its yearly tribute. In 1004 CE 1005-6, Multan, Fatadord, the Ismaili ruler of Multan, revolts and enlists the aid of Anandapala. Mahmud massacres the Ismailis of Multan in the course of his conquest. Anandapala is defeated at Peshawar and pursued to Sodra. Ghor, and Muhammad ibn Suri, then captured by Mahmūd, made prisoner along with his son and taken to Ghazni, where Muhammad ibn Suri died. Appoints Sebüktegīn to administer the region. Anandapala flees to Kashmir, fort in the hills on the western border of Kashmir. 1005 defends Balkan Khorasan against Nasir of the Karakhanate Khanate and recaptures Nishapur from Ishmi Muntazir of the Samanids. 1005 Sebüktegīn rebels and is defeated. 1008 Mahmūd defeats the Indian Confederacy in battle between Nand and Peshawar and captures the Shahi treasury at Kangra, Himachal Pradesh. Note: a historical narrative states in this battle, under the onslaught of the Ghakas, Mahmūd's army was about to retreat when King Anandapala's elephant took flight and turned the tide of the battle. 1010 Ghor against Mir Suri. 1010 Multan revolts. Abul-Fatah Dawood imprisoned for life at Ghazni. 1012–1013 sacks Thainzar. 1012 invades Gharkastan and deposes its ruler Abu Nasr Muhammad. 1012 demands and receives remainder of the province of Khorasan from the Abbasid Caliphate. Then demands Samarkand as well but is rebuffed. 1013 Balnit defeats Sri-Lochanpala. 1014 Kafiristan attack. 1015 Mahmūd's army sacks Lahore, but his expedition to Kashmir fails due to inclement weather. 1015 Khwarizm marries his sister to Abul-Abbas Mamun of Khwarizm, who dies in the same year in a rebellion, moves to quell the rebellion and installs a new ruler and annexes a portion. 1017 Kanayu, Meerut, and Mahavun on the Yamuna, Mathura and various other regions along the route. While moving through Kashmir, he levies troops from vassal prince for his onward march. Kanayu and Meerut submitted without battle. 1018–1020 sacks the town of Mathura. 1021 raises Ayas to kingship, awarding him the throne of Lahore. 1021 Kalanjar attacks Kanayu. He marches to their aid and finds the last Shahi king, Sri-Lochanpala, encamped as well. No battle. The opponents leave the baggage trains and withdraw from the field. Also fails to take the fort of Lokot again. Takes Lahore on his return. Sri-Lochanpala flees to Ajmer. First Muslim governors appointed east of the Indus River. 1023 Lahore. He forces Kalanjar and Gwalior to submit and pay tribute. Sri-Lochanpala, the grandson of Jayapala, is assassinated by his own troops. Official annexation of Punjab by Ghazni. Also fails to take the Lohara fort on the western border of Kashmir from the second time. 1024 Ajmer and Erwala. Kathiawar. This raid was his last major campaign. The concentration of wealth at Somnath was renowned, and consequently it became an attractive target for Mahmūd, as it had previously deterred most invaders. The temple and citadel were sacked, and most of its defenders massacred. 1024 Somnath. Mahmūd sacked the temple and is reported to have personally hammered the temple's gilded lingam to pieces, and the stone fragments were carted back to Ghazni, where they were incorporated into the steps of the city's new Jama Masjid in 1026. He placed a new king on the throne in Gujarat as a tributary. His return detoured across the Thar Desert to avoid the armies of Ajmer and other allies on his return. 1025 March against the Jats of the Jude Mountains, who harried his army on its return from the sack of Somnath. 1027 Ray Isfahan, Hamadan from the Bayaz dynasty. 1028–1029 Merv Nishapur lost to Seljuk dynasty. Attitude towards religious freedom. Following Mahmūd's recognition by the Abbasid Caliphate in 999, he pledged a jihad and to raid India every year. In 1005 CE, Mahmūd conducted a series of campaigns during which the Ismailis of Multan were massacred. However, modern historians, such as Tharpa, Richard M. Eaton etc., have portrayed a different view of Mahmūd as far as his religious policy is concerned. Tharpa wrote, "Of the mercenaries, not an insubstantial number were Indians and, presumably, Hindus. Indian soldiers under the commander, referred to as suzerainty, remained loyal to Mahmūd. They had their own commander, the Sipasalari Hindu one, lived in their own quarter in Ghazni and continued with the religion. When the Turkish commander of the troops rebelled, the command was given to a Hindu's Tilak, and he is commended for his loyalty. Complaints are made about the severity with which Muslims and Christians were killed by Indian troops fighting for Mahmūd in Sistan. Muhammad Habib states that there was no imposition of jizya on non-Muslims during the reign of Mahmud of Ghazni nor any mention of forced conversions. His expeditions against India were not motivated by religion but by love of plunder. Attack on the Somnath Temple. In 1024, Mahmud raided Gujarat, plundering the Somnath Temple and breaking its Jyotirlinga. He took away a booty of 2 crore dinars. Historians expect the damage to the temple to have been minimal because there are records of pilgrimages to the temple in 1038, which make no mention of any damage to the temple. However, powerful legends with intricate detail had developed regarding Mahmud's raid in the Turco-Persian literature, which electrified the Muslim world according to scholar Mahmūd-i Historiography concerning Somnath. Historians including Romila Tharpa, A.K. Majumdar and Richard M. Eaton have questioned the iconoclastic historiography of this incident. Tharpa quoted Maḥmūd, but, as is well known, Hindu sources do not give any information regarding the raids of Sultan Mahmūd, so that what follows is based solely on the testimony of Muslim authors. Tharpa also argued against the prevalent narrative, yet in a curiously contradictory manner. The Turco-Persian narratives were accepted as historically valid and even their internal contradictions were not given much attention, largely because they approximated more closely to the current European sense of history than did the other sources. Legacy. Mahmud of Ghazni. Under his reign the region broke away from the Samanid sphere of influence. While he acknowledged the Abbasids as caliph as a matter of form, he was also granted the title Sultan as recognition of his independence. By the end of his reign, the Ghaznavid Empire extended from Ray in the west to Samarkand in the northeast, and from the Caspian Sea to the Yamuna. Although his raids carried his forces across the South Asia, only a portion of Punjab and Sindh in modern-day Pakistan came under his semi-permanent rule. Kashmir, the Doaba, Rajasthan and Gujarat remained under the control of the local Hindu dynasties. The booty brought back to Ghazni was enormous, and contemporary historians give descriptions of the magnificence of the capital, as well as of the conqueror's munificent support of literature. He transformed Ghazni, the first center of Persian literature, into one of the leading cities of Central Asia, patronizing scholars, establishing colleges, laying out gardens, and building mosques, palaces, and caravansaries. Mahmud brought whole libraries from Rayy and Isfahan to Ghazni. He even demanded that the Khwarazm Shah court send its men of learning to Ghazni. Mahmud patronized the notable poet Ferdowsi, who after laboring 27 years, went to Ghazni and presented the Shahnameh to him. There are various stories in medieval texts describing the lack of interest shown by Mahmud in Ferdowsi and his life's work. According to historians, Mahmud had promised Ferdowsi a dinar for every distiche written in the Shahnameh, but later retracted and presented him with dirhams, the equivalent at the time of only 200 dinars. His expedition across the Gangetic Plains in 1017 inspired al-Biruni to compose his Tariq al-Hind in order to understand the Indians and the beliefs. During Mahmūd's rule, universities were founded to study various subjects such as mathematics, religion, the humanities, and medicine. On the 30th of April 1030, Sultan Mahmūd died in Ghazni, at the age of 59. Sultan Mahmūd had contracted malaria during his last invasion. The medical complication from malaria had caused lethal tuberculosis. The Ghaznavid Empire was ruled by his successors for 157 years. The expanding Seljuk Empire absorbed most of the Ghaznavid West. The Ghurids captured Ghazni in 1150 AD, and Mu'izz al-Din captured the last Ghaznavid stronghold at Lahore in 1187. Modern view of Mahmūd. The military of Pakistan has named its short-range ballistic missile in the honor of Mahmud of Ghazni, the Ghaznavi Missile. In addition to this, the Pakistan Military Academy, where cadets are trained for becoming officers of the Pakistan Army, also gives tribute to Mahmud of Ghazni by naming one of its 12 companies, Ghaznavi Company.